Oh, yeah, sure.
Folks, welcome to our annual hackathon. It's 2017, May 12th. This one is going to be a very short hackathon. And the reason for that is it's Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day on Sunday, so we didn't do a 48-hour hackathon. The other thing we wanted to do is crank the knob up a little bit. And so you'll notice that we have 3 challenges. Each challenge has a $5,000, $3,000, and $1,000 prize associated with it. 24 hours. And it will challenge you in a variety of ways. It's going to challenge your code, your data discovery, your creativity, your analytical thinking. But before we get into all that, we have, of course, housekeeping and preparatory notes and everything else. First, for those who are here local with us tonight, parking. Make sure you're either in a public parking garage, which is just 1 block down, or if you're on the street parking, be aware that it's only 2 hours. Where you shouldn't be parking is behind the Cuban Club or the Don Vincente. Those places will probably get you towed. In your handout, anybody have a handout? Anybody have a little handout?
In our bags?
They might be in your bags. Ooh, the bags! We got swag this year. It's the first year we've had like bags full of swag. There should be another little fold-out handout. No fold-out handout. No?
Got what he's asking for.
Right there. All right. May I borrow this, please, so I can illustrate? All right. So, what you're going to notice as you open it up is we've got some work areas of where you can be. And basically, it's the areas you've already seen. So back in this other room, don't go beyond those doors. You're pretty much constrained to this area, the high top area in back, and what we call the design suite. Bathrooms are down this hallway. So as you're leaving this building, or I'm sorry, leaving this room, it's right into the right. And the Wi-Fi password. We have them typically in each room up on these boards, but if you miss it, just come find me, come one of our team. The network is SOFWERX guest. The password is friend of SOFWERX, where the F, the S, the W, the X are capitalized. Now, the other thing I have to point out is we have had a phenomenal turnout from our sponsors. So what you'll notice is that we have a special place reserved for some of our highest tier sponsors, Allen Hamilton, RSA, Florida Center for Cybersecurity, WDS, which is the Westway Development Service. And then back here, we have an incredible other array. And I know a lot of the people that work for these companies and represent them, great solid folks, and really step forward to provide you with the food and the grub and the treats that you're going to enjoy over the next 24 hours. So great thanks to our sponsors. Also, I want to be able to thank the staff that has helped us so much. First and foremost, the master of ceremonies behind the scenes that you don't see is Carrie Klein. Carrie. An amazing amount of organization in a short amount of time has gone on. We also have the OpenWERX board. So we have Jeff Young. Jeff.
Hey, Kim.
Yeah, there's Kimberly Carberry, Kimberly. And Emma Ortiz. Emma, she's back tomorrow. She's going to be back for judging. She's out of town. Great stuff. So the links to the challenges, the way that we have this work is we have the master webpage of OpenWERX Hackathon on the SOFWERX website. From there will be subsequent links to where we're posting each of the challenges and the information. We're going to be using hackathon.io for that. So there are 3 separate hackathon.io sites. That's where you can sign up, formulate your team, create your projects, and post everything there. And I really encourage people to take time to build teams. And I'll talk about it in a little bit, but if you're here alone and you would like to find other team members, as soon as I'm done yapping my mouth and going through the PowerPoint, work the room, get on Slack, let people know that you're interested, tell them what your skills are. Teamwork is going to be really helpful for this, as all of them. The other thing I need to mention on the schedule is at 10 p.m. tonight, I'm going to do a team check-in. And that's both here physically as well as on Slack. I'm going to be going through the different teams and like, where are you at? Do you have everything? Are you stressed? Are you nervous? What can we do to shape and guide it? Speaking of which, each team needs to nominate one person and one person only to represent their team on Slack. And you need to get on Slack and let us know the team name and the Slack ID of that person. And that's going to be important just to keep down on the confusion. It's also important when the judges are reviewing your video submissions, which you're going to upload to YouTube, by the way. They are going to have questions for you. It's going to come to that point of contact on Slack. So between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night, you need to have that point of contact awake, mostly, and ready to type for questions. 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, we'll also do a team check-in and make sure everything's good. If you're going to stay the night, you're welcome to. If you're not going to stay the night, you're welcome to leave. But just remember, after 11 p.m., you can't leave and get back in until 7 a.m. tomorrow. Okay? All right, and we'll coordinate other questions. Can you pass that back to the individual I so ruthlessly stole it from me? All right, next slide, please. Guiding principles. I have a good dear friend of mine, and one of her quotes that I steal shamelessly is, "Rules are for people without principles." I don't really have hard and fast rules for hackathons. It doesn't make sense. What I do have is a set of principles that I'd like to encourage, and these are the two. The first is open source, and the second is collaboration, teamwork, helping each other. Both of these for me come from a very core experience that has defined my life since it happened. And I normally don't talk about this, but tonight I thought it would be appropriate because I've had a lot of people come to me and say, why do you insist on open source? Why don't you let my company XYZ bring this awesome proprietary piece of tech that I have? And the reason for this venue that we don't do that is for a variety of reasons that people can understand. One is that it's easier to get new thinking when people are playing with different code. It challenges, it lets you explore other opportunities. But my personal reason is very deeper. I deployed to Iraq as part of the second wave. Now, this second wave arrived on the ground right after a classic ground war. Remember, mission accomplished? Turned into something very ugly. And we were not prepared. We did not have the equipment. And so we did what every generation of soldier has done before us, and we looked to each other and said, what can we do to solve it? So we found sources of metal. We found the guy who knew how to weld. Amazingly enough, we found welding gear. And we put armor on our Humvees. We did the same thing with our information systems. We didn't deploy with the kind of tools we needed to process the information, to protect ourselves, keep the Iraqis safe, and find out who the bad guys were. And my professional career ever since then has been focused on a very, very specific kind of military innovation. And that's the kind of innovation that allows soldiers to solve, to the degree possible, their own problems. Now, as a result, maybe I'm a little too cranked into open source, but I will tell you there is nothing better if you are in a novel situation. It's novel for you, but there isn't just some easy solution out of the marketplace to discover. You turn to things that are open. You turn to that open collaborative community to figure it out. Next slide, please. So before I introduce the first challenge, this challenge comes from the SOCOM J24 Systems crowd. And I wanted to throw up a slide of the general things they're looking for. So this has been released for public dissemination. I want you to understand what they care about, what they think is interesting, what they're looking for. Now, some of the terms you might not understand. This is going to go to a PowerPoint. It'll be on the OpenWERX Hackathon website, so you can go look at it and parse it. But what you'll notice is there are some very interesting things that are emerging and cutting edge that a lot of people wouldn't associate with the military. Blockchain is an interesting one. Obviously, a lot of the stuff we have heard. What do we do with deep learning? What about APIs? What about microservices? And then why? This is really the why. So how do we increase the opportunity for a person to get the information they need when they need it? Next slide, please. So challenge number one, we call it Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter. There is a boat out there. This is a fictional scenario, right? So just don't forget that. The boat's real. The boat's real, the data's real. The fictional scenario is there is a boat that has left port with a hostage. The Navy Special Warfare community has been asked to go rescue that hostage, but here's the problem. We only have a small number of AIS, Automated Identification System. This is the location information ships produce. We only have a limited number of position locations as that ship left port, and then the bad guys turned it off. Your mission is to take that AIS data, build a predictive model that incorporates the winds, the current, any of the environmentals that might affect that route. Then you're going to have to download satellite ephemerides, so the orbital data of satellites. You're going to have to predict where that satellite, or which one of, because there's multiple satellites from this particular company, which satellite likely passed over the area of interest in the future where that ship has gone. Then you're going to have to query and say, was there cloud cover? You're going to have to nick down your query, and then you're going to have to query the satellite imagery data to get a set of imagery. Then you're going to have to write the object recognition and other processing software, or write it or use. You can totally build on open source libraries. Don't write everything from scratch, right? As my drill sergeant used to tell me, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So what you're going to have to do is show me that you've performed visual analytics to try to identify the ship. Now, you could probably figure out the answer on your own just by eyeballing it, I'll be honest, right? But that's not going to cut it. You have to show me your work, because this scenario could pop up again in the future, and frankly, folks, it does. We get limited information, we have to pull from different domains, and we have to do it in orchestra. We have to dance with the data and the analytics to tease out the decision we need in a particular circumstance. This is going to be a very interesting challenge. It would not be possible without our friends at Harris, Planet, who are providing the combination of the AIS data and the satellite data. Now, we're lucky to have an engineer from Planet here. We also have an engineer from Harris here. They will be available for, if there's questions about the API. We have people remote who are able to talk about the weather API data and how to get access to that. So we're trying to set you up for success, but show your work. Now, you're not limited to the data I'm giving you. If you find some interesting data out there that can assist you, use it. If you find an interesting analytical play that I haven't thought of in designing this challenge, use it. Show me your creativity for this problem. Next slide, please. The next challenge comes from SOCOM Agile Acquisition. Now, the SOCOM Agile Acquisition community actually is the one that sponsors SOFWERX as a whole. And you can see some of the crazy things that we've been working on. Single-man flying machines, missiles on a boat, putting new targeting systems on existing weapons and systems. I'm going to go through all of this. And again, this will be on the slide deck that you can go look at. So what's the challenge that they're giving you? Next slide, please. We're calling it Master Maven. Master Maven. Now, some of you might have heard that SOCOM is building an exoskeleton system. It's not just one, it's not just Iron Man, it's a system of exoskeleton capabilities. And one of the biggest drivers for that is the armor. Because believe me, if you're the first person and a stack of heavily armed people about ready to burst through a door, the first person has the highest lethality rate. So how do we armor them? So to do that, we want to find who in the world is the greatest expert in applying novel material science to personnel armor. How are you going to find that person? Well, you can go to patent data, you can go to academic publications, you can use LinkedIn, you can use social media. You can use anything you want, but you have to show your work, and you have to be able to justify why you think that person is the expert. Now, this is very fuzzy. This is ambiguous, right? An expert, not an expert. How do you tell the difference between an expert or not? That is up for you to make the case to our stakeholders. What I do expect to see is some text analytics. I expect to see some graph and relationship analytics. I expect you to show how you got the data, processed the data, analyzed it, structured it, and then if you want to make it pretty, by all means, make it pretty. Next slide, please. The last challenge comes from one of my favorite groups. And there are judges, yeah. Major Jen Snow is back here. She's one of the judges. The Donovan group is the futures group inside of the J5, which itself is a futures group. And they're looking at a lot of crazy things. But not just crazy things, not just future things. They're also looking at the things that people don't normally think of as being a big deal. And this next slide relates to that. We call it gray pill. Now, first question, what color are the pills? I heard a red and blue.
Yeah, red and blue.
They're red and blue, right?
I see yellow and blue.
Right. You guys remember the dress that went around on social media?
Yeah.
This is one of those. Yeah, I set you up.
Yeah.
Right? Some people are going to see red and blue, some people are going to see yellow and blue, some people are like, I just see gray. Right? Gray pill. The reason we're calling this gray pill is we all know what the dark web is, right? Or the deep web, right? Where all the drug dealers and pedophiles hang out using Tor. What is missed in that conversation is there is a broader development trend towards distributed, decentralized, encrypted, resilient communications in general. This is talking at the deeper protocol layer, at the content layer, at the higher levels of aggregation. Whether we're talking about a blockchain, whether we're talking about IPFS, a distributed file system, whether we're talking about ZeroNet, which is an entire distributed content. Your mission is to go, at the end of the day, provide me a weather report of gray networks. Now, what I mean by that is I have a list of sources you can go get data. You need to scrape them. You need to process them. You need to look at the posts. You need to show how the posts are linked together. Classic social analysis, social media analysis, right? This is, you're going to be like, wait, we do this all the time. We do this on Twitter, we do this on Facebook. Yeah, that's true, except I'm going to make it harder. Because the context I'm looking for is not the sentiment on the hashtag. Ultimately, what I want you to tell me is, what is the context within an animated meme? Yeah, a GIF meme, or a GIF meme, I'm sorry. Which, can we have a raise of hands? What's GIF or GIF?
GIF.
Yeah, see, it's
Chips of peanut butter.
Right, yeah. So what I'm really looking for is, show me the trending topics and concepts across these different gray networks. Now, it's going to be even harder than you think, because the dominant language on these networks is not English. Right, and so you need to show me language translation. You can show it anywhere you want in the analytical pipeline. But we're talking now images, we're talking dynamic stuff. This is when you really have a chance to stretch and impress. Next slide, please. That's it. So as soon as I'm done talking here, I actually need to go update our website and point you to the Hackathon IO links, because I didn't do that before I started talking. So you're going to go to softworks.org/openworks-hackathon, and you will see the 3 challenge names. You'll have a hyperlink. And oh, by the way, you can only pick one challenge. Your team can only pick one challenge. Okay? You have to go after just one. Are there any questions for me?
I have a question.
Please.
So, how much? Of course I do. So, how much is presentation a part of? I mean,
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. Yes, because I normally do that. I restructure my PowerPoint. You will be evaluated across 3 general criteria. Number 1 is your conceptual approach to the problem. That shows me how well you understood what I said to you. Number 2 is the work you actually do, of course. But number 3 is your presentation. Because that is always, always important. How you present what you did helps people decide, in part, whether it really is good. It shouldn't be that way. It should just kind of stand alone in its own platonic ideal. But the reality is how you present your work is as much to do with what you actually did. So those 3 general areas. Answer the question? All right. Any other questions? Sure.
Yeah, is there any problem with my streaming this on my Facebook academic site during just maybe going from walking around and stuff?
No, you probably might want to ask people if they want their face streamed over.
So you tell me the rules. I'll follow whatever.
So again, rules for people without principles. Our general principle is we are open. So by default, this event is open. If you're a super secret spy, this is probably not the party you want to hang out at. So I have no problem. So I'm going to say, look, we have other media here. We have people taking pictures. So it's choose your own adventure. You're free to do it. If somebody has a problem with somebody taking their picture, then please inform the people who are taking the picture that you yourself don't want to be. And if we need to have a space in the back where people don't get seen, I can do that too. It happens, believe it or not. It happens. All right. Another question? Yeah.
So, how are individuals or people without a team able to find people who need?
So you need to go on the Slack channel. So let's go to suncoast.io, sign up for that. Then in suncoast.io's Slack environment, find the OpenWERX channel and introduce yourself and say, I need a team, and this is what I bring to the table. And those teams who might consider adding someone else, and by the way, you really, really might want to add someone with good presentation skills, somebody with good research, data discovery. It's always good to have a nice voice and a pleasant demeanor doing the voiceover of the YouTube video. Okay. Good. I love you all. You're beautiful. Now get to work. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick question. If you are on site and you're competing, if you will go up to the front, we do have your t-shirts in, and you'll let them know what size you'd like. Just let them know at the front. And they do have that. Take your time to get up there. We'll get those sent out to you as well. So
Okay.
join us again at 10 p.m. if you're online
That's right.
as well.
All right.
Woo!